The first passage was about polarization, violence, sectarianism that accompanies the decline of nations, the decline and fall of nations. So let's read the passage and have a quick summary before we look at the questions. The American empire is waning. That might well be a good thing for Americans and non Americans alike. But the early signs are not promising. Like Didio's machines in the moments immediately after peak hegemonic cooperation, we finding that our differences are becoming intolerable. When empires that span diverse populations disintegrates, history suggests the potential for conflict is high. Let's understand what he is saying. He says that the American empire is waning, is going down. Waning means waning moon is the moon that decreases in size. So waning is decreasing, going down in size or power, which is maybe a good thing for Americans and non Americans. But he says the early signs are not good because the moments immediately after peak hegemonic cooperation, after the country is at its peak, after domination is at its peak, the moments after peak hegemonic cooperation, we find that our differences become intolerable. So once the peak is over, then our differences increase and we become more and more intolerable. When empires that span diverse populations disintegrate, when an empire is in shambles, starts disintegrating, history suggests, this is borne out by history, the potential for conflict is high. So when an empire is in decline, when it starts disintegrating, the chances of conflict, the potential for conflict is high. The end of the British Empire in India gave birth to violent sectarianisms. The Ottoman and Austro-Hungarian and Soviet empires did much the same. So when the British Empire ended, when the Ottoman Empire ended, when the Austro-Hungarian and Soviet empires ended, what happened? It gave rise to violent sectarianism, sects fighting against each other, or the society divided into sects which obviously fight against one another. The American empire was far more powerful and wide ranging than any that came before. So, we're talking of the British Empire, the Ottoman Empire, but remember, the American empire was far more powerful than all these empires that we mentioned. That's the first paragraph. As it diminishes, aggressive sectarian impulses are seemingly in the ascendant almost everywhere, as it refers to the American empire. As the American empire diminishes, aggressive sectarian impulses are seemingly in the ascendant. They seem to be rising almost everywhere. Name a country today, it's likely to either be run by a strong man who claims to speak for the true people or the folk, or otherwise has a strong man in waiting maneuvering to take control. So as any empire diminishes, sectarianism rises. If you notice, he says, look at any country, it's either led by by a strong man, a powerful person, a powerful leader, all right, or one who claims the strong man claims that he represents the people, and or it has a person who's equally strong, who is in waiting ready to take over power. There are strong women too, but far fewer of them. I imagine the empire building machines of Didio's simulations as doing three things. So we have now come across this name Didio twice. Now if you don't know who he is, we don't know, for the purpose of this RC we'll say this Didio made some machines. And what did he do? These machines, empire building machines of Didio simulated. These machines simulated empire building. Okay, they are doing three things increasingly and exquisitely well. So, what are these machines simulating? The actual empires. They are doing three things very well. What is that? Identifying differences that permit sorting into categories of like me and not like me. So, they identify the differences which permit sorting of people into those who are like me and those who are not like me. Cooperating with those in the like me category. So, what do people do? First, they identify in the society who is like me and who is not like me. Then they identify with the group which is similar to me. Like me doesn't mean you have to like me, it is people who are like me, and you go and identify with the group which is similar to you, and destroying the not like me category. Now, I group with people who are like me, and I'm intolerant. There can be no, I cannot tolerate any difference. You are not like me, you're different from me, I would destroy you. That's what the simulating machine has done. First, sort me and people who are like me, people who are similar, and people who are dissimilar. Identify with people who are similar, with groups who are similar, and go against those who are dissimilar. That's what the machine, the simulation does. Our species has similarly, we are doing exactly what the machine does. Our species has, because it's a simulating machine, it's not doing something on its own, it's just simulating or copying us. Our species has similarly become incredibly skilled at cooperating. Thousands of people in dozens of different countries collectively manufactured the computer on which I am writing this. So our species has become very good at cooperating. We too have developed the capacity to kill along an entire spectrum from wholesale to bespoke. We also have developed the capacity to kill. We have tremendous capacity to cooperate. He gives the example of a computer. We're working on a computer which is the result of cooperation of so many different people. He says, at the same time, our species has developed the capacity to kill along an entire spectrum. So, this killing has also gone on an entire spectrum. Wholesale killing, nuclear, chemical, biological weapons, to bespoke, customized killing. Okay, quietly disappearing those who trouble us. Okay, get rid of them, which is obviously a pressing, indeed existential concern. This matter of developing the capacity to kill, whole scale or customized, is a matter of concern. It's a matter of worry. Why? But our ability to kill has not changed as rapidly in recent years as our sorting mechanism appears to have. Our ability to kill has remained the same, more or less, not increased too much. But what has increased? What has changed? Our sorting mechanism, the mechanism by which we are differentiating those who are like us and those who are different from us. It is our impulse to sort. We have instinctively developed this impulse. You looking at somebody, you immediately sort him into the category of similar or different. It's our impulse to sort. Sort means to sift. Okay, and the importance that we place on sorting, that has gone truly haywire. So, in modern systems, what has gone haywire? What has gone out of control? The impulse to sort and the importance we place on sorting human beings instead of accepting. We are sorting human beings into groups, silos, like me, not like me. That has gone haywire, that has gone out of control. The end of the American Empire is coinciding with the age of the cyborg. A transformation worthy of science fiction did occur. So, by the end of the American Empire, we have changed. This is the age of the cyborg, and the transformation that has occurred in us is worthy of science fiction, unimaginable before. That kind of transformation, that kind of change has come in us. We become attached to our screens, merged with the machine culture behind those screens, changed far more than some child might in the process of merely becoming a Jedi. We have changed so much more than a child is getting transformed into a Jedi. We've changed a lot. That's the summing up of that paragraph. The machine world is a binary world. It strikes me that we have to learn to apply those zeros and ones to our thinking. Our thinking has become binary, sorting everything into ones and zeros to different categories. We have learned to apply those zeros and ones to our thinking, intensifying our impulse to sort one another into like me, not like me and different from me. At what might well be, historically speaking, at this point, America is on the decline. We have changed a lot. We have this impulse to sort. into what might be the worst possible moment. This is the worst possible moment in history, a moment when, as empire recedes, we are already predisposed to sort excessively. This is a moment. He is calling it the worst possible moment. Why is it the worst possible moment? Because the empire is receding and we have a tendency, we are predisposed, we have a tendency to sort excessively, do this categorization inordinately, and to fetishize tests of purity. We also have become made fetishes of tests of purity. We are obsessed with the tests of purity. The result, as we can see, is all around us. The result, as we can see all around us, is a disastrous confluence, is a disastrous merging of all the terrible isms that he has put: polarization, militarism, democratic dysfunction, and environmental disregard. Because of this, there is a disastrous merging, confluence. All four got joined together. What? None of these are something that you look forward to. Polarization, division of society into two poles, two opposite ends. Militarism, democratic dysfunction, democracies are not functioning well, and environmental disregard. In the same way that the most deadly aspect of COVID before vaccination and pharmaceutical treatments became available was an overreaction of our immune systems to the virus, the dreaded cytokine storm, destroying healthy lung tissue in an overzealous attempt to fight the disease. So he has compared the situation to the most deadly aspect of COVID. COVID before we found the treatment and the vaccinations for it. What did we do? There was an overreaction of our immune system to the virus, and in treating the virus, we in our attempts to fight the disease, we destroyed perfectly healthy lung tissue, right? Because of this, what happened was that, okay? So he's compared the society and the situation in declining American empire, or the end of the American empire, with our reactions, our actions just before treatment for COVID and vaccination for COVID was discovered. The challenge we now face is an overreaction of our societal immune systems to one another. That was an overreaction of our immune system to the virus. Now, the societal overreaction is taking place. Our overreaction is to the societal immune system, not to our bodily immune system, to one another. It is ruinous for us to be once rampantly identifying as zeros those with whom we have any significant level of disagreement. So what is happening is we are doing something ruinous. We are identifying as zeros, not like me, anybody with whom we have a significant level of disagreement. It underestimates the human capacity for messy and unexpected plasticity. This reaction undermines or weakens the human capacity. We are capable of unexpected plasticity. Plasticity means flexibility. But our reaction, our overreaction, our impulse to sort is weakening that capacity for flexibility, adjustment, adaptability. Our approaches to seeking a better, more inclusive, and more equitable future urgently need to be found. We need to find other approaches. To what? To building a better, more inclusive. Our approach is not inclusive, it's exclusive. Me different from me. So he says we have to find a better, more inclusive, more equitable future, something which is fair. And we need to find it urgently because the situation is pretty bad. The author discusses all of the following arguments in the passage except, so we are looking for an option which has not been mentioned in the passage, a statement which is out of scope of the passage. The other three options would be points made by the author in the passage. At the height of an empire, there happens to be a certain level of cooperation among diverse people, right? He says hegemonic cooperation, at the peak of hegemonic cooperation. That means at the peak, there is cooperation. When an empire is at its peak of its dominance, hegemony means dominance, there is cooperation. After that, problems arise. Therefore, the first one is yes, has been discussed. There seems to be an affinity, some sort of bonding between the machine world and our thought processes. Has he said anything about that? Bonding. He just said we are becoming like computers. We are trying to sort everything into binaries, 1 and 0. 1 like me, this 0 not like me. But that doesn't mean there's some sort of similarity or bonding between our thought processes. And we just are sorting things into two. That does not mean he's saying there is an affinity or a bonding between the machine world and us. So, this is not likely to be our answer. Separating people who are different from us has grown in rapid measure. He has mentioned it. Correct? He says that some people, sorting people into different categories, has risen sharply. Risen sharply since when? Since the waning of the American Empire. Therefore, C has been mentioned. Contemporary society is possibly at the worst inflection point in human history. He says we are at the worst point in history. He has mentioned it. Let's quickly go back to the passage to where he has mentioned it. In this passage, in the fifth paragraph, he says the machine world is a binary world, and it strikes me. I think we've learned to apply that same logic of calculation into our life and sorting people into 0 and 1. That doesn't mean there's any affinity between us and the machine world. The second one, he says, we are historically speaking at the worst possible moment. We are at the worst possible moment in history. Why? Because at this moment, as the empire recedes, we are sorting. We already have a tendency to sort excessively, and we also have the tendency to fetishize tests of purity. Tests of purity obviously implies race. Therefore, the answer is B. A, C, and D have been arguments that the author has mentioned. He has not said there's an affinity. He says machines tend to calculate computers tend to have this binary system of calculation, separation of ones and zeros. We tend to be looking at people like that. That doesn't mean there's a bond between us and the machine world. Therefore, B is the answer.